He's not putting you up.
I didn't say he was putting me up.
Oh, so what are you saying?
The girls are fighting. The girls are fighting. We need to talk, y'all. We need to talk. Let's sit down. Let's jump into it. Y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lex, and I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps to get the videos out there, and it inspires me to keep creating. Anytime you interact with the videos, it all goes towards making this channel just a little bit better and a little bit bigger. And I really, really appreciate all of you guys that have been supporting the Big Brother content. Welcome back to my sometimesy, when I feel like it, when I can, every couple of days reviews. I am sorry that the reviews are not every single day like they were last year, but unfortunately, I just have a lot going on in my personal life and I really cannot do daily reviews. But I try my hardest not to go more than 3 days because I feel like this house, it's a lot. It's a lot. We had a lot going on over these past couple of days because the last time we talked, we were at the veto. We had a veto winner. So now we're going to get into the renom ceremony. And after the renom ceremony, and baby, you're going to want to be here. And look, these reviews, I like to keep them bite-sized. I like to try to keep them around 20 minutes long so you can get up to speed on what's happening in the house and know what's going down. So let's jump on into it. When I left you guys last, our HOH was Mickey. Remember, Mickey stole that HOH from Riley, and her nominees were Keanu, Kelly, and Riley. However, Keanu pulled out yet another veto win, thus knowing that he is going to take himself off. So we pick back up here with us talking about Sunday, where this is before the nomination ceremony, and then we did have the renom, let's say yesterday. We're gonna get into Sunday. We're gonna get into some of the thoughts that were in people's heads about what was going to happen with this new nomination that we need to put up. So Sunday consisted of a lot of conversations. Our first conversation of note was between Morgan and Zach.
Big flies.
Yeah, I know, right? Look, I go back and forth because I think both are equally a liability for me.
And of course, you know, these two, it is the one-sided love triangle, but also there is the game chat. So for Zach is really on board with the concept of putting up Jimmy. And keep this in mind. They are a 100% full sale on the concept of putting Jimmy up. However, at the time, Morgan is a little more meh about it. For Morgan, she's a little bit unsure of whether or not Jimmy is this right decision. And keep in mind, Morgan and Mickey have no real reason that they need to come after Jimmy. Jimmy was not targeting them. He was not going to put them up in this present moment. This is definitely a Zach and Vince fueled plan, which then trickled down into Morgan, which then trickled down into Mickey. So in this conversation, they talk about it a lot. Morgan is expressing some of her apprehensions. And as you know, when Morgan's having game talk, they go through a lot of scenarios and they run through everything and they play devil's advocate for 1,100 million minutes. But they finally get to a point of the conversation where Morgan's like, okay, but what about Kat? So Morgan and Zach go into Kat and the possibility, but as they're talking through, Morgan does sort of realize, well, that's not happening because there's this big sort of background thing going on where Mickey really seems to have an affinity for Riley this week. I don't think it's in a romantic sense, though I have seen some other sources claim they think it might be going down that route. I don't know what it is, but it is very clear that Mickey, at the minimal least, feels very bad for stealing Riley's HOH. And there's this concept of not wanting to put up Catherine because it's like, oh, you stole Riley's HOH, you put his girl up. It's just a horrible thing to do. So Catherine is off the table. We soon find out, though, that multiple people are off the table. It's not just Catherine. It's also Lauren is off the table. There's so many different people that just are absolute untouchables right now. So it gets to this weird point where because everyone's off the table, somehow, some way, Morgan, Mickey, throughout this day, delude themselves into thinking that the only possibility to go up is Jimmy. So of note on Sunday, Rachel and Mickey also have this long, code-worded conversation where Rachel essentially gets into how Ava needs to go up and how Ava misses her life back home and how Ava misses her kids. And as you can obviously come to the conclusion of, Rachel had a weak moment where she was essentially telling Mickey, hey, put me up. Now, Rachel's not going out without a little bit of a fight because, of course, her first and foremost person is Vince. But as we know, Vince is another one of the untouchables right now for some reason. Vince cannot go on the block. So in this moment, Rachel is essentially like, I would like Vince up. However, if Vince can't go up, then let's put up Ava, aka me. And I don't know what happened. And they were crying. It was a really deep conversation where maybe Rachel had a moment of weakness because she does later come back to Mickey and say, hey, scrap all of that. Ava wants to stay, me, and let's go up full steam ahead for Vince. But as you know, if there's one thing that will not happen is Morgan letting Vince get on that block. Mickey also has a chat with Vinny where she explains the reason why she used the power, yada, yada, yada. But overall, she gets into again how they get into Keanu. They start to talk about how she loves Keanu, but not necessarily long term in the game. And then they start to get into the people that they don't want to get into the jury. They discuss Kat, Keanu, Kelly, Jimmy. Basically, they don't want any of these people in the jury. And that's one thing that these people are doing very hard is gaming for the purpose of jury, which I'm not saying jury management is a bad thing. We know jury management is a big brother thing. I just feel that the way that these people are thinking about the jury is by backstabbing all of their alliance members. And at the end of the day, it's very hard, nearly impossible to play Big Brother with no alliance members. So far, every single HOH has taken out one of their enemies. Or their alliance members, excuse me. Every HOH has taken out one of their alliance members. So it just doesn't really make sense when you think about things. There are more that chats throughout the day. Rachel and Jimmy are spending a lot of time together, and Jimmy does talk about how he is really going to boom this house on up if he does end up actually staying and winning the blockbuster or staying in the votes. And again, there's a lot of talk, but I feel like it's really important to note that Zach and Vinny, they were just working so hard to ensure that it was Jimmy on that block and not Catherine. Not Catherine. And that's why Catherine could not be an option. Reilly, for Reilly and for all of these different reasons. They really, really, really were pushing Jimmy. And again, Vinny, Zach, Morgan, they have that thing. And then Morgan is, of course, talking to Mickey. So Morgan and Mickey, they have this long conversation Sunday night where Mickey does start to contemplate, wait a minute, should I actually put Vinny up? Morgan spirals. I mean, Morgan starts crying. She says that Vinny's one of the only people in the house who talks to her about her personal life. She's one of the only people that she doesn't talk game with. She needs him here. There's absolutely no way for her game. She cannot have it that Vinny is gone. Whole conversation is primarily about Morgan. If you're Mickey and you're thinking smartly, right? You're like, but how does he benefit my game? And this is going to come up next day, right? We're going to talk about it because Ashley, of all people, is the one to come to Mickey and essentially be like, girl, you do realize you're at the bottom of the Morgan, Vinny, Zach triangle thing. Anyway, it comes up a little bit later, but Morgan is crying. I mean, she is crashing out saying that Vinny cannot leave. She needs Vinny here. And eventually the conversation over time does sway back to Mickey choosing to put up Jimmy. So let's get into yesterday, which was Monday, the renom ceremony. Monday morning rolls around, not much happens. They wanted to stir up some drama, so they had this veto ceremony very early in the morning, like 11 a.m. BB time. And obviously, as expected, Jimmy hits the block. We do see a lot of little chatter around the house. I think Zach and Kelly were joking around, or was it Vinny and Kelly? One of the two. They were joking around that Mickey made AFP for making this decision, which I was like, really? Y'all don't realize that we as America do not like this decision, but anywho. And we do see a little bit of a conversation between Mickey and Jimmy. And this is really the only conversation they have throughout the day. Jimmy spends a lot of time with Rachel alone. And then Mickey and Morgan are sort of holed up in the HOH room for the rest of the day. And they just kind of don't talk to one another whatsoever. But Mickey essentially tells Jimmy, look, I had to separate personal from game. I like you as a person. I think you're cool. But in this conversation, she essentially applies that she does not trust him. For Jimmy, he's just in big shock because at the end of the day, it's like, I was not coming for you. I was not gunning for you. And again, I think this is one of the worst decisions that Mickey could have made. I absolutely agree that Mickey made a decision that she was misted by Morgan, and Morgan was misted on this decision by Vince and Zach, and also Keanu misted her into this decision. And it just does not make sense for Mickey's game. Jimmy was not coming at y'all. What is the point of taking a perfectly good ally off of your side because you don't want him in jury? That gameplay doesn't make sense. And y'all know I was saying I thought Mickey had such good game sense. I was so disappointed this week. I was so disappointed because I was like, this is awful game sense. I don't know what is going on. I don't know what caused Mickey to somehow entrust Reilly, Keanu, people that literally never have indicated that they are a number for you over your actual number. And you want to do solids for those people by throwing out your ally. The math ain't mathin', Mickey. The math ain't mathin', girl. So Keanu and Jimmy have a little conversation in the room.
I don't know. I think if I don't know. I just think they, actually I really don't know. It's weird to say I was.
And Jimmy does start to do his pitch a little bit. Now, he does make it clear. And Jimmy says throughout the day, I still love Mickey. I still love Mickey. I would never put her up. But at the same time, lines have definitely been drawn. For Keanu, he's very confused right now because he says, well, my ally, you, Jimmy, has been put up. But also my two friends are on the block. So I'm just not really sure what to do. Keanu does point out, though, how both Reilly and Jimmy have been burned on Mickey's HOH this week, so to maybe keep some of that stuff into consideration. But I don't know. Jimmy throughout the day keeps saying, I would never put her up still. I would never put Mickey up still. I still love Mickey. Maybe I'm the Lulu. And I'm like, Jimmy, no, there's no alliance with her. There is no alliance. All these people have showed there is no alliance. So as I told you, Mickey and Morgan spend a lot of time in the HOH room, and they essentially just sit here and gas up their brains about how Jimmy is actually an awful person.
We talked about has ever left us. He's like, even the conversations we've had about Morgan. And remember I told you that. Remember I told you when he was like, yeah, he was like feeling like you're being weird, you're paranoid. He needs to watch you. He's not sure like about
and how this was the right decision, how it was so terrible. And I'm going to read you guys straight from my notes some of the points that they made about Jimmy. So Jimmy is someone who has allowed people like Keanu to talk poorly about them. He was able to save his butt but his two allies may have gone home if Keanu had been HOH, meeting them too. They also claim that Jimmy hasn't taken any accountability in the house. Apparently, Kat does not like the two of them because of Jimmy. So overall, it is very, very clear that they are hoping Jimmy goes home. They even start to talk about Jimmy's lies. They're like, yeah, he's such a liar because he said he lived in an apartment, but then he accidentally slipped up and said he lives in a townhome. So I don't even know if that's really like the art thing is his real job or if he just says that he does that on the side. But these two literally sit for hours talking about how terrible Jimmy is. By the end of this conversation, they are fully convinced that Jimmy is a lying scammer who is going to take the two of them out and that this decision is the best decision that they have made in the history of Big Brother. It was actually unhinged to watch on the feeds. I don't know what is going on. But it was an absolutely unhinged conversation to watch on the feeds. So throughout the day, as those two are being Delulu in the HOH room for quite a minute, there's a lot of other little conversations, and I sort of gathered up throughout the day that Will, Ashley, Ava, Rachel, they definitely seem like they are more on board for keeping Jimmy over Kelly. Now, it does get dicey when it comes to Jimmy over Reilly, but Jimmy over Kelly, it does seem that those people want to keep Jimmy. The problem is Jimmy needs more numbers, and the reality is in order for Jimmy to stay, they would have to flip back Morgan, which is just simply not going to happen because she has Zach and Vinny in her ear telling her that Jimmy needs to go, Jimmy needs to go, Jimmy's terrible, Jimmy's horrible, Jimmy's awful. Well, Ashley, Rachel, and Jimmy have a little conversation, and Ashley was activated today. They get into a little conversation about just how blind Mickey really is.
With Mickey.
Yeah.
I've never seen Mickey in the room.
Never. With all of them.
Well, no. So she has been up the other day.
About the fact that she is at the bottom of this Morgan, Vinny, Zach hierarchy. She is at the very bottom. Ashley even points out that before Mickey was HOH, she was never included in their group talks. Now, all of a sudden, she's in the room, she's talking, feeds are cutting in and out quite a bit, but this conversation actually makes it to the HOH room. We have Ashley, Will, and Mickey in the room, and Ashley starts to kind of give her piece. Now, Mickey tries to start off by claiming. So Mickey starts to try to say that Ashley was going to be Jimmy's third nom no matter what. And Ashley just is literally not buying it. Ashley's like, girl, he was never going to put you up. He was never going to put you up.
He would have put her up no matter what.
I don't know if he would have put up Morgan, but I know that I think he was supposed to be third. So what, he pushed her up? Because she was supposed to be a fifth.
I don't know.
So what are you talking about? Mickey starts to get really defensive and she's like, what? But you were going to be his third nom. Ashley's absolutely not buying it. Lawyer Ashley came out where she was like, girl, please save it, save it, save it, save it, save it. So at this point, Mickey is starting to increasingly get more upset. And she starts to say stuff like, well, I ain't got no more powers to save your butt, Bookie. I ain't got no more powers to save you. So you better get it together, basically. And Ashley's like, okay, what are you talking about? And when I tell y'all, watching this live on feeds, it was getting heated. Mickey was very upset. And Ashley's like, okay, all I'm simply trying to tell you is you are putting up somebody who was not coming for you. Mickey's like, okay, I don't get it. It sounds like you're trying to defend him. Like, it sounds like you're trying to defend somebody else. So I don't understand what the issue is here. But again, she hits her with the, okay, Bookie, you could go ahead and defend him. And she walks out the HOH. Mickey literally walks out the HOH. And I was like, oh, not you feeling triggered because you know Ashley's right. You know Ashley is right. That there was absolutely no reason for you to put up Jimmy. And you're throwing out somebody who was a number for you. You know that. And that's why you feel so triggered. So Will and Ashley, they continue to talk at the HOH room after Mickey heads out. And Ashley's like, it doesn't make sense. How could she not see that she is not part of their trio? How could she not see that she is literally on the bottom rung of the trio? And again, lawyer Ashley, I love it.
Good task.
Bro, she's crazy. She's crazy. I'm gonna tell
That
I'm
was
gonna run back to
weird.
Rachel.
Give me more of lawyer Ashley because she is so right. And I think Mickey has made such a grave misstep, hitching her wagon to Morgan under the expectation that Zach and Vinny are also numbers for her when that's not reality. What needs to be understood is that Morgan is barely with them as well. They will cut Morgan in a heartbeat. So Ashley, in what world do you think that you by yourself would be any form of a priority for the two of them, Zach and Vinny? I agree with Ashley. I do. But that situation happens. The feeds cut out a lot after this situation. Ashley does eventually fill in Jimmy, who's kind of just like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand why she would even be like this. And I don't really get how she's saying, I'm playing the middle and I'm doing all of this, but yet she's with a group that wouldn't. And Jimmy still continues to just say things like, well, I see. I would still never put her up. I love her. And they both say throughout the conversation, Ashley and Jimmy are both like, I love her. I love her. I love her. But like, I don't know. Even when Ashley was talking to Will, I love her. I just think this has shown how poor Mickey's gameplay is. This week has shown a lot about Mickey's reads on the game. I don't know if emotions started to get involved or what happened, but this is terrible. Again, Jimmy, he spends the rest of his night sort of talking to Rachel. He even at one point talks to Kelly and is like, how do you do this? How do you deal with all these people not liking you? But really, that is the big thing. And now I'm curious, what are the lines? Mickey and Ashley, they have this big fight and Ashley supposedly claims she still loves Mickey, but has this changed the dynamic even between their little group? We will have to watch the feeds and find out, y'all, but tune in. If you can watch live, tune in because it is getting very good this week. But if you made it to this point of the video, that means you liked the video. So I would greatly appreciate if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the videos out there and it inspires me to keep creating. Thank you guys so much for watching and I will talk to you guys in my next one. Bye.